Hello. Better late than never is an expression used exclusively by people who are always late to things. Welcome to my WrestleMania 38 review. Whoo! Yeah, a little bit late, but you know, better late than never, right, guys? So I didn't take any notes. I mean, I live tweeted, so I could be going through my Twitter feed, I guess, from back then. I live tweeted the show on @WWE WrestleMania. But other than that, I have no notes. I won't be referring to that. All I've got open is the Wikipedia page for the results. And I haven't really been watching the weekly product since either, so I'm not going to be talking about the fallout. I'm literally just going to be reviewing this as if it's the very moment that WrestleMania went off the air. However, it's not. So my memory might not be the best. But I'll start with two overarching themes, one of which I'm not going to touch on again and one of which I won't be able to help but touch on again. The first one, the one I won't touch on again, is too many video packages. Like, they literally had a match finish early on night one due to an injury, which we'll get into shortly, and still had to bump another match to night two because they ran out of time when they had a combined 74 days worth of video packages in that one night one. Between, like, I don't mean the video packages where it's like, hey, here's the hype story behind this match, here's the rivalry up to this match. I'm fine with those stuff. I think they're always really well made, and I rely on them because I don't tend to watch the weekly product. I just watch the hype package for the match, and then watch the match, and I understand WWE pretty well. But, I understand what's been going on. But, I mean the ones where it's like promoting night two matches, or there was just, I can't remember exactly all the video packages because obviously, like I say, it's been a while, I haven't got notes. But I do distinctly remember, wasn't there like a Sasha Banks video package? You know, like the sort of one you would see on SmackDown if she'd been out injured for a bit and it was like a reminder, hey, you know, she still exists, like, she's going to be back soon. It was like one of them, except it was on WrestleMania, on the night that she's not even on, and she's not away, she's actually actively participating in WrestleMania on night two. It was just weird things like that. I don't get it. I do get it in the sense that it's something to do with the Peacock tiers, isn't it? Like, that was space filler for adverts, I believe, on the lower Peacock tiers in America, but it was just rubbish. And they should still have been able to work around it and get all the matches in that they wanted to do. They must have known ahead of time how much time they would have to fill with ads and absolute rubbish. Anyway, so that's the one I'm not going to refer back to. The one I'm going to refer back to is much more of a positive one, which is just that I really enjoyed the show. And if you didn't enjoy WrestleMania 38, I'm not sure what you want from WWE at this point. This was WWE doing what WWE does best. Like, it really was. And I feel like you just need to watch a different product if you didn't enjoy WrestleMania 38. And that's not me attacking anyone, saying you don't have a right to dislike it. I just really think WWE isn't for you at this point if you didn't enjoy this show. And there's loads of alternatives. There's AEW, there's New Japan, there's Impact, there's an abundance of indie promotions available on what's it called? Platforms, that's the word I'm looking for. Platforms like Fight.tv. There's loads of indie wrestling on there. Some bigger, some smaller. There's loads of ways of watching indies. You can go to your local indies. You know, like there's so much wrestling available. And I haven't named New Japan because that's the only one in Japan I watch, but there's All Japan, there's Stardom, there's DDT, there's all this wrestling. Like, watch something that gives you what you enjoy. Life's too short, you know what I mean? But I really enjoyed the show, and we're going to get into it now. So the opening match on WrestleMania Saturday was the Usos defending the SmackDown Tag Team Championships against Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. Now, I predicted Nakamura and Boogs to retain this, but I wasn't to win the titles here, but I wasn't confident. But as the match went on, I was growing more and more confident that was going to be the case. Until Rick Boogs didn't come back from his injury spot, and it turned out it was a legit injury, and they obviously just went home early. And I feel like it's a very distinct possibility that they got told to change the finish once Boogs was injured. Like, there's not much point in still going through with Nakamura beating the Usos, essentially 2-on-1, only to then not be able to defend the tag titles. You know, like, they might as well keep the Usos going. So I'm not 100% convinced I was wrong going into that show with my prediction. However, fate was not in my favour, and more importantly, not in Vic Boogs' favour. And in the biggest moment of his career so far, unfortunately, he picked up a quadriceps injury, and he could be out for... I haven't been keeping up with the updates, but the last I heard was anything up to a year, which is super, super unfortunate. So, get well soon, Rick Boogs. But yeah, the Usos picked up the win. I'm 0-1. This was a really well-building match. I was going to say this was a really good match. It wasn't yet, but it was building into one. And the injury came at a really unfortunate moment, and they had to rush go into the finish. And it ruined what was looking like being a really good match, honestly, as an opener. It was building very nicely. It was starting to really pick up steam from what I remember. Up next was the match that, as much of a fan of Drew McIntyre as I am, I, along with everybody else, just don't care about this match as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's people out there that were excited for this one, but this feud's been going on for like 6 months and I'm just over it. I didn't realise until the commentary built it up loads that Happy Corbin, since becoming Happy Corbin, hadn't lost. He was on like a new gimmick undefeated streak. But I still stood by my prediction of Drew. Even when the commentator said that, I said, Drew's still going to win this. And he did. And he kicked out of End of Days, becoming the first man to ever kick out of End of Days. So I don't think his push is quite over yet. You know, his pandemic WWE title push. He may well hold world championships in front of a live audience at some point in his career, which would be lovely. But yeah, this match, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I just hope that feud's done with, over and finished now. Fingers crossed. But yeah, Drew picks up the win. I am 1 from 2, and let's move on nice and quickly. Up next was The Miz and Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. I predicted Miz and Logan Paul to win this for the wrong reason. I thought maybe this is where they kick off the Rey Dominic feud. They didn't end up doing that, but I still got the right end result. So 2 out of 3, which, as Meatloaf always used to say, ain't bad. This match was really fun. Logan Paul, really good performance. He had cool gear. He had the world's most expensive Pokemon card around his neck during his entrance, in case you weren't sure if he was supposed to be a heel or not. Yeah, he had gear, proper gear made. He seemed to get being a heel, which, you know, he's a real life heel, so that shouldn't have been too difficult. But he put up a good display for himself. As we could talk all day about what we think of Logan Paul the person and the YouTuber, but Logan Paul the wrestler did well. And that's all I can really judge it on here. So yeah, absolute kudos to him for his performance. He obviously took training seriously, learned the craft, and more than held his own out there, honestly. Couple of moments people complained about him not maybe selling stuff for long enough, but, I mean, full-time wrestlers do that all the time, you know, so, like, maybe let's not jump on him too hard for that. After the match, Miz hit Logan Paul with a skull-crushing finale in what is rumoured to have been supposedly the start of Logan Paul's contracted face turn. I hate to break it to you, WWE, Vince McMahon, and Logan Paul, who's obviously equally delusional at this point. You're not turning face. Everyone will just cheer the Miz in that scenario. If it goes Miz versus Logan Paul based on that, everyone will just cheer for the Miz. Everyone did cheer for the Miz when he did it, because everyone hates Logan Paul. Anyway, next up was Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch for Becky Lynch's Raw Women's Championship. I predicted Bianca Belair to win here. There was no point in building to this match if Bianca wasn't going to get the payoff and get the win. This was a story being built from last SummerSlam when Lynch came back and took the SmackDown Women's Championship from Belair in 26 seconds or whatever it was. This was a good match. There was a couple of botches and not very fluid moments, but overall this was a really fun match. I really enjoyed this match. I would not say the couple of not quite fluid botchy moments really were too detrimental to the quality of the match, honestly. There was someone replying to me on Twitter saying, name one good match. So I just named that one. I humoured them for a bit. And I was just like, this one. And he was like, oh, Botch Fest. And I was like, yeah, but the match was still good. Like, he just... And I just ended up ending the conversation by just saying, look, you're determined to hate on this product. Maybe just watch something else. Like, you're just being blinkered at this point. Like, I am not a WWE shill. I am all over them for all the bad stuff they do. But WrestleMania 38 was not a bad thing that they did. Anyway, yeah, Bianca Belair won, which was the right decision, and also the decision I predicted. 3 out of 4. Not a lot more to say about that. Just good match. Probably could have been the main event, the official main event before the additional match was added on, I should say. More of that later. Rather than Flair Rousey, I would probably have rather Belair and Lynch main event, which I know Flair Rousey is the bigger names, per se, but it was never going to be the better match, was it? Like, I know Flair's good, I know Rousey's good for the amount of experience she's got, but I don't know. Anyway, up next, Seth freaking Rollins, because we have to call him that, it's part of his name now, yay, came out, you know, saying, I've been told I've got a match by Vince McMahon, bring my opponent out here, and people chanted Cody, and then, wrestling has more than one royal family. Adrenaline in my soul, my name is Cody Rhodes, or whatever the words are. Cody Rhodes comes out to a pretty damn big pop, honestly, like pretty good ovation, not gonna lie, with full AEW Cody Rhodes presentation. He had his little lift through the stage, he came up, he had his gear correct, they hadn't made him remove his tattoo, which was the one mistake in the presentation, in my opinion. If anything, it looked like he'd had it touched up and freshened up. It seemed brighter and more vibrant than ever. He probably had it redone. He's really doubling down on that tattoo for whatever reason. I still think it looks like one of those transfer tattoos you get for your kids from the packs of, like, those fake cigarettes that are made of candy, and you used to get, like, a Superman tattoo in them. It looks like a really, really, really good quality one of them. To me, it doesn't look like a real tattoo. Anywho, enough about Cody's neck. This match was really good as well, Cody versus Seth. Like, I just can't complain about this one. It was really, really good. They told a good story. Seth kicked out at the Crossroads, which, it was a fun moment, but I did immediately question that as, like, he's just come back after 6 years. Maybe protect his finisher for a little bit. Like, then they went into a finish where he hit 2 Crossroads, picked him up, did the dusty combination into the bionic elbow, and then hit another Crossroads, and it put Seth away. But, like, that was a fun moment, but you could have done that without the kick out and the first 2 Crossroads, and just had him do the dusty bionic elbow combo and then hit the Crossroads, and it kind of would have had the same impact, honestly. I just feel like there's not enough, like, emphasis. You can keep Seth Rollins looking strong in defeat without having him kick out of a Crossroads to, you know, it just, I don't know. Not a big fan of massively unprotecting finishers, let's just say. But that is my only complaint about this match. This match was great. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Again, not everything came off flawlessly, but who cares? You know, like, it's live, you know. People who jump on that will be happy to watch movies where they're watching the 14th take of a certain, like, fight sequence because they kept botching it. These guys get one take. They're in front of a live audience. They're being broadcast live to the world. It's fine for not everything to go absolutely correctly. But yeah, Cody won. I predicted Cody to be the opponent for Seth. And I also predicted Cody to win. I think I'm going to give myself 2 points for that one, honestly. So, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 possible points so far in my predictions. Not bad for someone who doesn't watch the weekly product particularly, eh? The official announced main event match was up next. Charlotte Flair defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Ronda Rousey. And she defended successfully, which I'm pretty sure I predicted Ronda Rousey. I haven't actually gone back and watched my predictions video, so I'm even doing that off memory. But I'm pretty sure, along with everyone else in the world, I predicted Rousey. But no, Charlotte Flair retained with a big boot. She just ran over and big booted her and pinned her. It kind of felt a bit anticlimactic, honestly, the finish. The whole match felt a bit anticlimactic because it followed on. It was in a really tough spot in the card because it legit followed 3 really good, arguably increasing in quality matches, and then this one didn't increase in quality. It was a really hard spot. I'm not saying it was a bad match by any stretch, but it wasn't. It was in front of a now tired audience from 3 bangers back to back, especially the last 2, the Raw Women's Title match and the Cody Seth match. But this was in a really tough spot where the crowd were really tired. The crowd were also preserving a bit of their energy because they knew the KO show was still coming up with Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was almost in the cooldown match spot by accident, and that sucked for them because they deserved more than that. And I'm not sure if the crowd not being super invested took away from the match more so than the actual quality of the match. But my experience watching it was I was not as hyped about this match as either the previous 2, maybe previous 3. So yeah. Unlucky Charlotte and Ronda. Also, screw you, Charlotte, for beating Ronda. I predicted Ronda. You've ruined my predictions. I'm only 5 out of 7 now on a product I don't watch. 4 out of 6 on matches, 5 out of 7 on prediction points. And finally, the Kevin Owens show happened with Kevin Owens talking some trash. Stone Cold came out. Kevin Owens revealed, I wanted to challenge you to a no disqualification match. Stone Cold accepted. And then they had a really good match, more of a match than I think anyone had any right to expect, and more of a match than I expected from them. Austin took a suplex out on the concrete in the crowd. That was wild. He hadn't wrestled in 19 years. I mean, he'd probably done a few practice matches in the Performance Center or whatever, but, I bet none of them included a concrete back bump. So, crazy stuff. I think I predicted that there would be a match. I can't remember if I predicted if there would be a match or not. So, I won't give myself a point for that. But I won't make there be a point for that. I'll just say I can't remember. But I'm fairly sure I said they should have Kevin Owens win, but they probably won't. They'll have Austin win. Maybe this could be revised after watching my predictions video. And knowing what I predicted. But I'm fairly sure I would have picked Austin to win here. So I'm going to give myself 6 out of 8. But I'm not 100% sure I predicted that. Maybe I went super bold and predicted Owens. But if I did, I don't know what I was smoking that day. Because obviously Austin wins here. I was making the argument in the predictions video. I remember this much. That Owens should win. Because, oh my god, you've just made an absolute uber star overnight. Hell yeah, uber heel Kevin Owens, absolutely, especially if he cheated to win. But it was never going to happen. Austin won, got Byron Saxton in the ring. Byron Saxton is in kayfabe the stupidest man alive. Took another stunner. This time didn't get kicked square in the penis, so that's good. Good for him, not good for everyone else. Everyone else would love to have seen a repeat of that. Yeah, and the show closed with Austin celebrating, obviously. So really good first night. Probably my favourite of the 2, but nothing against night 2 at all. WrestleMania Sunday was also a really good show. Let's move on to that straight away. I'm now going to draw a line under night 1 and say I was 6 from 8, line drawn, and start scoring again, and then I might add them up at the end for overall predictions, just because it's going to be easier to keep count of. So, up first, RK Bro defending the Raw Tag Team Championships against the Street Profits and Alpha Academy. I think in the end I went with RK Bro here in my predictions. I was flitting between them and the Street Profits, but I think I went with RK Bro. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I'm going to say I did. That seemed like the logical result, and then maybe Street Profits to turn after the match. That didn't happen. We got some celebration where Gable Steveson, which by the way sounds the most NXT 2.0 / Impact Zone meme name ever. Feel like his name in WWE was Steven Gable, and then he just got moved to either NXT 2.0 or released and turned up in Impact as Gable Steveson. Just I can't believe that's his real name. It's such a ridiculous name. And he got the jump. Like, Chad Gable tried to interrupt the celebration once he was in the ring, and he beat him up. And, you know, and they had a lovely moment where they shared some alcohol, I guess was the implication of the Street Profits solo cups. But yeah, I'm going to go, I was 1 for 1 there. There's a possibility I end up predicting the Street Profits. I know I was fluctuating between the two, but I'm gonna give myself the benefit of the doubt and say I predicted Arcade Bro there. And I'm 1 for 1 on night 2. Bobby Lashley defeated Omos. Weirdly, they decided to put the cooldown match second on both shows when you've not tired out your crowd yet. It was weird. Like, that should go like semi-main, honestly. But on both shows, the cooldown match was second, which was odd. I predicted Lashley to win. People were like split about this because I run polls on Twitter during shows like this of who you got, and people were really split on this, and that surprised me. I thought this was a gimme for Lashley. So yeah, Lashley picked up the win. Nothing much more to say about this. This was probably better than it had any right being. That's my review of it. But I'm 2 for 2 on night 2, I'm fairly sure. Match number 3, Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn in an anything goes match, and I predicted this was just going to be like Jackass episode inside a wrestling ring and out and nearby a wrestling ring, and it was lots of interference, lots of silly spots, lots of fun, and I also think I predicted Johnny Knoxville to win because of the nature of the match. So yeah, GG me, I guess, 3 from 3. This match though was crazy fun. Sami Zayn's gone on record on Twitter as saying this is one of his favourite matches, even though he said he'd seen a lot of criticism for it. I honestly haven't. I've seen a lot of people saying we knew what this was going to be going into it, and it was a very good example of what it was going to be. Right, and especially considering I don't particularly like WWE's brand of comedy 9 times out of 10, especially if it doesn't involve R-Truth. I also don't care that much for Jackass. Like, not anymore. You know, like, I used to enjoy Jackass. I don't particularly care about it. I wouldn't say I dislike it. I just don't watch it. You know, so I don't care for that brand of humour either. However, 2 wrongs can make a right, and this was really, really good. Like, and most people I know that I've spoken to about this really enjoyed this, so fair play. Like, Sami Zayn was one of the only people in the world capable of making this work, in my opinion. And Johnny Knoxville more than carried his side of things. You know, he was mostly doing pranks, but, you know, there was a bit of wrestling involved, and he did fine. He did absolutely fine. So, yeah, GG Johnny Knoxville, and GG Sami Zayn. Good match. 3 from 3 on predictions. Let's move on. The Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. I should have put a bit more thought into this, and I probably would have got this. But what I actually did was roll the D4 dice to predict this, and I think I got Queen Zelina and Carmella to retain, so I was wrong. I'm 3 from 4 now. Sasha Banks and Naomi really was probably the obvious winners. Or Liv Morgan and Rhea. I should have tossed a coin between those two. I don't think, realistically, Carmella and Zelina were a likely winner of that match. So, yeah, I should have at least not allowed that result to stand. But I didn't. I got 3 from 4. Sasha Banks and Naomi won. Honestly, this is probably the match of the whole weekend I remember the least about. It's either this or 1-2 matches from now that only went 1 minute 40. This one went 10 minutes 50, and I still don't remember much from it. So I can't really add anything. Thoughts in the comments on this match. Thoughts in the comments in general on the show and what have you. But I'd love for anyone to point out to me anything about this match that was significant or stood out, because it's genuinely just fallen out of my head. I didn't care about it going in. I think that was the problem. So I didn't care about it during, so I didn't commit any of it to memory. Let's just move on, shall we? I got the prediction wrong. And by the way, I'm good with Sasha and Naomi winning that. I think that makes sense, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do before their eventual breakup and feud. But, yeah. Moving swiftly on to AJ Styles and Edge. Now, I predicted Edge to win this because he's just got this new gimmick. And neither man loses anything. If Edge hadn't changed gimmick, neither man loses anything by losing this match. Like, no one slips in the fans' estimation by losing to the other. So it's quite a hard one to predict. And no one really gains much from winning it either, I would say. So it's a hard one to predict. But then Edge comes along with this brand new gimmick. And it's like, okay, so this gimmick needs protecting, at least for now. So yeah, Edge won. I didn't see the Damian Priest interference come in. So that was a fun little moment, shall we say, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this team, if they do flesh it out more, yada yada yada. But yeah, this was a really good match, really enjoyable. The longest match of the weekend so far, in fact the longest match of the weekend full stop, was this match. And I was aware that it was a long match, but it wasn't one of those where it was like, oh my god, how long is this match? You know, it was really good. What would you expect from Edge and AJ Styles in a WWE ring? Like, it was obviously going to be great, and it really was. So, fair play. I don't really have much to add to this for the opposite reason, which is I don't want to sit there dissecting moments in the match and picking it apart. I just want to provide the overarching opinion that this was a really good match. I really thoroughly enjoyed this, and was not surprised in the slightest that I really enjoyed this match, because it was Edge and AJ Styles, you know, like, excellent stuff, you know, really good fun. Moving swiftly on to the tag team match that was dropped from night one because they had too many damn video packages, which I said I wasn't going to mention again, but can I just mention that on night 2 they had a load of video packages showing results from night 1 when this is being broadcast almost exclusively on in-demand services, be it the network or Peacock, where you could just go back and watch night 1. So why are you doing this? Why are you discouraging after the fact rewatches? Someone could have been round at their buddy's house for night 2 but not for night 1 and been like, oh, this is really fun. What, there was a show yesterday as well. You know, I'm going to go home and get a free trial on the network or get on Peacock and watch night 1. No need, now you've given away all the results. It's stupid. And then this match got 1 minute 40 seconds on the show that it wasn't supposed to be on because it had already been bumped once. The disrespect that the New Day get put through, considering they have consistently been a cash cow for WWE for like the best part of 10 years now, is ridiculous. And Sheamus, but Sheamus hasn't had that. Sheamus has, like, yeah, Sheamus was in this match and deserves better, absolutely. But like the way Kofi lost the WWE title, the way his run was managed as WWE champion after the quite frankly great build, Big E, again, his reign was underwhelming. The way it ended was massively underwhelming and almost insulting. And the way they both just accepted their fate and moved back into the mid-card immediately, back into tag team action. And I know Big E wasn't in this match, but I'm just talking New Day mistreatment in general. Like, oh, it drives me mad. They deserve so much more than WWE give them. And, I mean, they're obviously happy. And fair play to them, but oh my god, I wouldn't be if I were them, because they just get disrespected left, right and centre. Anyway, speaking of New Day being disrespected, I predict... By the way, did I mention in the last match I predicted Edge to win? If I didn't, yes, I did do that, so I am now 4 out of 5. Now, on this one, I predicted New Day to win. I was like, give them the revenge win. Big E's injured, watching at home with his neck in a brace. Let his buddies get revenge. It doesn't affect anything. It can, you know, you can get your heat back immediately after if you want, or back on SmackDown. Nope, Sheamus and Ridge Holland won. I don't even remember much about this match. I know that Sheamus and Ridge Holland won. So I'm now 4 out of 6. I do think that was the wrong play. Honestly, they're doing something with Pete Dunne. Quote Butch. Awful name. Awful policy on just changing literally everyone's names at the moment, but oh my god, Butch. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, he's doing this thing where he's like the loose cannon of that group, and they're having to like stop him attacking everyone. So he could be interesting. It'd still be more interesting if he was just allowed to be Pete Dunne, honestly. But Yeah, 1 minute 40. That's the thing to take away from this. 1 minute 40 they got after being bumped from night one. Disgusting. Up next was Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory, which I actually predicted Austin Theory to win because I didn't think there was much benefit to McAfee winning, being a commentator. I don't think he's going to become a full-time wrestler. Like, he's going to go back to the commentary table, so give the up-and-coming wrestler the win. However, Pat McAfee won. And honestly, I sort of get it. I wouldn't have done it that way, but I get it because WrestleMania is almost like a standalone event in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, there's build up to it and there's that fallout from it and stuff, but it's supposed to stand alone as an event. And Pat McAfee was, aside from Steve Austin, probably the most over person on either show. Like, he was crazy over, crazy charismatic, did really well. He's obviously a great athlete. You know, we've seen him with Adam Cole in NXT, how he absolutely knocked that out of the park. He's knocked this one out of the park again with Austin Theory. He probably deserved the win. I personally would be looking more future focused. That's just how I am as a person. So I would have given Austin Theory the win here and built him off the back of it. Maybe had permanent animosity between them. Like, move Austin Theory to SmackDown fairly soon and permanently have Pat digging at him on commentary, just for the fun of it. But, yeah, Pat McAfee won, so I'm 4 from 7 now. It's all falling apart, isn't it, from 3 from 3. But this was really fun again. Just a good part-timer match, you know, like non-full-time wrestler match. You're not expecting too much from it, but they over-delivered. Yeah. I was expecting quite a bit because I've seen McAfee versus Adam Cole, to be fair. But I feel like they absolutely delivered on this one. Austin Theory, again, I've heard the rumours and speculation, and I don't know how much of it is confirmed and yada 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 regarding his conduct outside of a wrestling ring. That's a different topic for a different debate. Austin Theory in the ring is great, and he's obviously got the rocket strapped to him. But really, I should have known better and predicted the McAfee win. Then something that I don't think anyone predicted, we then had a Pat McAfee versus Vince McMahon match. This was 3 minutes 45 seconds. This was over twice as long as the New Day versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland. And let's be honest, it was rubbish. Wasn't the finish of the match Vince McMahon kicking a football into Pat McAfee's ribs and then pinning him? After Austin Theory interfered and the referee did nothing about it, and Stone Cold took 10 minutes too long to bother coming out and make the save. Like, whatever. It was fun. It was, you know what? It was fun in the moment to see Vince McMahon getting in the ring and taking his jacket off and whatnot, and Pat McAfee sitting on the turnbuckle like, what is this really happening? And like, Austin should have come out before the end of the match, in my opinion. Even if it had given McMahon the win by DQ, by him attacking Vince, I would still have gone with that rather than having Vince pin Pat McAfee after Pat McAfee just pinned Austin Theory. That's the thing I'm worried about, is like the damage. And I know all damage in wrestling is recoverable. It doesn't matter. Just have him win next time. It doesn't matter. But it still just does my head in when they just do stuff like that to someone who they clearly want to give a mega push to, like Austin Theory, but then they have him lose to a guy who then loses to Vince McMahon, who's 76 and can't take a stunner properly. You know, just a bit of a mess. But we ended up with a really fun moment with Austin stunning Vince terribly. We got a great sell for a stunner from Austin Theory where he did. I think he deliberately referenced the Scott Hall sell where he just kind of went up in the air and just floated, then flat backed. I feel like that was deliberately a Scott Hall shout, which if it was, then fair play Austin Theory. I appreciate that. Again, looking past anything else that may or may not be true. Then again, just as a wrestling fan, one wrestling fan to clearly another, I appreciate that shout out to Scott Hall taking a stunner at WrestleMania. And then they had the, you know, Austin and Pat McAfee celebrated. Then he stunned McAfee, and McAfee did the sprinkler with the beer as he sold the stunner, which was amazing. Then he rolls to the outside, and the camera cuts to him, and he's just pouring one of Stone Cold's drinks into his mouth. It's all just flowing out all over the place. He's just like, he's selling it like he's still barely conscious. It was just a really cool moment, really fun moment. I made a meme that was just like, Pat McAfee was labelled me, and WrestleMania 38 was the beer. Because I was just enjoying the show so much, I just immediately went and found a still of that. I think I actually went on the network on my phone while I was still watching it on my TV and screenshotted the still from it, and then made that meme immediately. Because I was just really enjoying the show. And like I say, now a bit of cynicism's cutting in about the Vince McMahon thing, but at the time I was enjoying the segment. I've got to be honest. I did not predict this match to happen. It wasn't pre-announced, so I'm not counting it as a negative prediction. I'm just not going to count it. I'm still 4 from 6, by the way. 4 from 7, sorry. But I'm not counting that's 4 from 8. How could I have predicted a match that wasn't announced and no one guessed was going to happen? Surely no one had on their bingo card Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee happens. Surely no one had that. If anyone can provide me proof that someone said that was going to happen before WrestleMania Sunday kicked off, I will legitimately give that person money, but I want proof. I want stone cold solid proof, because that would be impressive. Anyway, the main event, the winner takes all, biggest match in history. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Universal Champion Reigns, WWE Champion Lesnar. Title unification match. I predicted Reigns to win. I doubted myself. There was always a chance they were going to give it to Lesnar, but I predicted Reigns, and Reigns won. The finish to this match felt very rushed, and I've heard since that it wasn't, because it looked like Reigns had some horrible looking bumps on his arms, and he was really struggling to lift the title that was in his left arm towards the end of that match. So I thought maybe there was like a legit injury, but not a bad enough one to flip the script. Or maybe Lesnar isn't re-signed. I have no idea what his contract status is. His contract could have only run through to WrestleMania for all we know. Maybe we do know more than that, but I don't. But the point still stands. That felt really rushed, that finish. Because it went from that moment where his arm was all mangled to spear finished, and it felt quite underwhelming. It felt like there was still a lot more build in that match. I have heard since that apparently nope, that match went down exactly as intended. If that's the case, then you booked a anticlimactic finish to WrestleMania, to such a good WrestleMania. And Reigns winning was the right call, but I think they could have made a much more special moment out of it somehow. I don't know exactly how I would have booked the end of that match, how I would have agented it, so to speak, but I know I wouldn't have had it finished like that, and that abruptly. But hey, what can you do? Reigns won. That puts me, 5 from 8, so still over 50%, so that's all good on predictions. But it was both nights, the official main events, i.e. the Charlotte Rousey match, not the Austin Owens match, and the Reigns-Lesnar match, kind of underwhelmed in the face of what had gone before them, I would say. Would be a theme. But overall, really good show. Really good shows, I would say, 2 nights. Let me know in the comments what you thought, what you agree with me on, what you disagree with me on, what you remember that I've not mentioned, etc, etc. I'd love to know your thoughts. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more wrestling content if you so wish. Yeah, that's all I have left to say. So I'll actually say the last thing I have left to say, which is all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been EBEZA, you've been amazing, and I will see you next time.